All right, guys, I'm finally halfway put together to be able to share this story. Okay, so we are live on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So I had to get all my devices charged. So anyway, we are, what is it, 8 days postpartum, I think. And a lot of you had, of course, a lot of questions about when I said, hi, my name's Ashley and I birthed my child on a toilet. So here's a little bit of story time that you guys have been waiting for. Again, so sorry it's taken 8 days. I've just been a little busy, okay? Trying to, adjust to this whole new. And half the time, guys, I'm in my PJs and I just didn't think you guys would want to see that on my videos. So, but congratulations, I have my comfy dress on, okay? All right, so where to begin? Because before I even get to the part of the toilet, I know you guys probably feel like, or you see people on social media and you feel like, oh my goodness, she shares everything. However, no matter how it seems, I actually don't share everything. And there were a lot of things towards the end of my pregnancy that I did not share, just cause. So, but we're gonna share them now, all right? So, first of all, I shared yesterday, I shared a post yesterday of the drops that we use. So I guess let's start with that. So definitely, guys, if you know of someone, who may be having some issues, getting pregnant or different things, I started those in literally the first month on those, and it's a natural progesterone drops. The progesterone's from yams. So, so anyway, if you know of anyone who, is trying to conceive, the bottle's like $22. It's very affordable and it doesn't hurt. And, with Chloe, we got pregnant very quickly. So we got married in November. I was pregnant by the end of January. She was born a week before our 1-year anniversary. So we were didn't expect, I guess, to have, I don't know, have to use drops or whatever. However, for you that may not know, Justin is a bacterial meningitis survivor. He was born fine. He got bacterial meningitis when he was 6 weeks old. And so the doctors had told him, because his fever got so high, that he would most likely never have children. And so, for one, we're thankful that they were wrong. Again, we were, got pregnant with Chloe very quickly. And so we tried for about almost a year, then got on the drops. Obviously we got pregnant. So now we're pregnant. Okay. So first of all, through my pregnancy, I had a total of 4 or 5 doctors. I fired a lot of doctors in this process, okay? So I live in a teeny tiny town. We have 500 people on our town. There isn't this is the OB you go to. You know what I'm saying? And no matter where you go, unless you just use someone local, you're gonna drive an hour to 2 hours away. That's just where it is. So the first one I fired, I hadn't even made it to my first appointment because I called them and I was so sick when I first got pregnant. Couldn't hold down water. And so I understand that they couldn't call me in anything because they hadn't seen me yet. But when I called and talked to the nurse, her only response was, well, if you can't hold down liquids, you just need to go to the ER. And I'm over here dying. I'm oh yeah, let's go to the ER with COVID and everything else going on. So I fired them before I even got my first appointment. It was you guys on social media that told me about Unisom. I didn't tell V6 made any difference. So, but anyway, Unisom is literally what got me through pregnancy. So I started taking Unisom. Finally get with the doctor, actually in Enterprise. I go to them for, I don't know, the first few months or so. But then I hired a doula. First of all, if you guys are considering a doula, do yourself a favor and hire the doula, okay? I didn't know much about, you know, like doulas or whatever, but this girl, you know, was local, and she literally was my saving grace in many, many ways. And so they're very affordable. You know, I talked to a couple doulas before, you know, I went with her. They're anywhere from like $1,000 to maybe $1,500. Well worth every penny. So that's a little side note. But when I hired her, she had some issues with that particular hospital. I wanted to like be in a hospital, but have like no intervention, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to be like strapped to monitors. I wanted to be able to walk around. I wanted to, you know, have a drink of water if I wanted to drink water. So I didn't want a hospital that was going to be like, no, you can't. Stay in bed. Don't do anything, okay? So I changed doctors to Pensacola, because she had, you know, worked with some doctors and different things at Sacred Heart, and had great experiences. So we thought, okay, the plot thickens very quickly. Okay, so I switch again to the midwives, because Pensacola Hospital, they had a natural birthing suite with a bathtub. Okay, so let's be honest, I switched doctors for the bathtub. I ain't gonna lie. All right, I was like, oh, that is perfect. I'm in a hospital setting, but I'm free to move around. We can do like Bluetooth monitoring. There's no cords. Like, this is great. And there's a bathtub. I mean, why would you not switch? So I switched to the midwives. I see them 3 times, and I opted out of the glucose test. The drink made me really, really sick last time, and I was just like, I'm not doing it. I will test my blood sugar at home. And I had been doing that for weeks, and everything had been fine until I hit 32 weeks. When I hit 32 weeks, my fasting numbers got over 100. My eating numbers were great. I tested it. Man, guys, I could eat waffles with regular syrup, and like, you know, I mean, I could eat anything. My eating numbers were perfect. It was just my fasting numbers. So because of that, I risked out of the midwife care due to gestational diabetes. So then I go to another OB within Sacred Heart. First OB they tried to send me to, he turned me down, because at this point I am 35 weeks pregnant, okay? So finally get to a new doctor. We get in there, and so at this point at 35 weeks, because I have gestational diabetes, I have to start doing weekly ultrasounds every single week, gross scans, you know, the whole shebang. Well, the first time I see this doctor, like literally almost the first thing she says is, when do you want to be induced? And I'm like, I'm only 35 weeks. Like, why are we even having this discussion? And I was like, I don't plan on being induced. My first daughter was 5 days late, but once I had her, you know, I had her within 4 hours. I don't want to be induced. I don't want Pitocin. I don't want an epidural. And I said, and I asked her, I said, how many of your, you know, patients have been able to take Pitocin without an epidural? And her response was, I've only had one mom make it. And I said, well, that's not what I want. You know, I don't want to be induced. I don't want an epidural. So that was at 35 weeks. 36 weeks, I did not see her. I seen a nurse practitioner. That particular day, my blood pressure was slightly elevated, probably because I didn't sleep at all the night before. But anyway, so I had to go get labs, make sure I didn't have preeclampsia. I didn't. We're good. All right. So I come back again. I see her at 37 weeks. She likes to induce at 39 weeks. Okay. So at 37 weeks, I come in, do the ultrasound, blah, 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 come in. Of course, it's been 2 weeks since I've seen her, but she comes in and says, so I was just wondering, like, when do you want to have this little nugget? I was thinking about maybe September 5th, which was my 39 weeks exactly. And I'm like, did you forget the conversation we had 2 weeks ago? Where I clearly stated, I don't want to be induced. I don't want, I don't want that. And I said, is there a medical reason? Like, did you guys see something on the ultrasound? Like, why are we even having this discussion when I clearly said that is not what I want? So, and she told me, she said, I have no medical reason to induce you. Okay, in a discussion, I told you that's not what I want. But when I refused, as soon as I pushed back and I refused, she immediately jumped into my percentage of increasing my risk of having a stillborn. I'm just like, are you really trying to be that manipulative? Like, you just told me you don't have a medical reason to induce me, and then when I say no, you immediately go, my kid's gonna die? I mean, so I left very aggravated that day. So that's 37 weeks. 38 weeks rolls around. On my way to my, let me back up. Before we leave the house, normally I drive myself. It's 2 hours there, 2 hours back. This whole time I've always driven myself. Justin came with me. The first time I was with her, he did not like her. He was like, yes, Danny, it's exactly right. Oh, it gets better. So he did not like her, but at this point I'm like, Justin, I'm 35 weeks. I don't know who would accept me now because I'm so far along. Like, I'm not going to let her bully me around, but I mean, I just don't want to. Anyway, he didn't like her. Okay. I should have just found another doctor at that point. So very last minute, Justin and Chloe decided to go with me. So I'm 38 weeks, right? 38 weeks and like 4 days. This was on a Thursday. So we already had our hospital bags packed. And we're like, man, we're 2 hours away. Let's just throw them in the car. Anything could happen. I don't know. But so very last second, they come with me. We take our bags to the doctor. So starting at like 12:30, I started having contractions, but they were not hard. But that was the first time that they were consistently timed. So that lasted for the rest of the day, really. So my appointment was like at 3 o'clock. The whole entire day, Carly is kicking me, squirming. I'm having contractions. We're having great movement, like everything. I go to the doctor. Guess what? My blood pressure is elevated. So that was the first thing. My blood pressure was elevated. Then we go for our weekly ultrasound, but this time it was, I think it's called the BPP, where it's like the growth scan and like different milestones and different things. So it wasn't just like a typical ultrasound. It was a little more in depth. It's a 30-minute time. During that time, never mind, she's kicked me all day. She won't move. I switch sides. I'm like ready to do jumping jacks. Like, Carly will not move during this ultrasound. She ended up moving towards the end, but she wouldn't move. So we go to my, room with the doctor, and she comes in and she basically just says, "You've got to be induced today." And I'm like, whoa, like what are you saying? And she said during the BPP, there were 8 things, that Carly should have met. She says that she did not meet 2 of them. One of them was the movement one, but she said, hear me when I say this, she did end up meeting that one. So technically, Carly just didn't meet 1 of the 8, right? I'm refollowing my numbers here, which was the practice breathing. That's it. So, but in her mind, or in her logic, she was saying your blood pressure is slightly elevated. The movement, but she did move enough, but she tried to throw that one in there, and the practice breathing. So because of that, we need to go, like, you're not going home. Like, don't go and collect $200. You're going to the hospital. So I called Justin in, because I went in by myself, so Chloe didn't have to, sit there. Well, they won't let Justin come back because Justin's legal name is Tim Justin Sullivan, but of course he goes by Justin. So when they ask him his name, he says Justin Sullivan. Well, that's not how he reads on the paperwork, so they wouldn't let him come back. And so I had to go find him, get dressed, go find him, bring him back. So basically, we opted, I did go to the hospital that night. I was there all night, but I still was very adamant. I don't want Pitocin. So what are our other options? Well, when she checked me, I was already at a 3, but she did not tell me the effacement or the station. All she said is you're dilated to a 3. Well, the catheter balloon thing is only designed to get you to a 3 or a 4. So that wasn't really an option. I didn't want Pitocin. So really the only other 2 options were things that would help the cervix. So we went with Cervidil, I think is what it's called. So we go get Chick-fil-A, we go whatever, go to the hospital. And by the way, because I'm induced, I did not get my bathtub. Because that's only for whatever births, like it wasn't for induction. So I did not get the room that I wanted. That was the first aggravating thing. So we get there and I still have a little bit of a bruise. I have apparently terrible veins. They couldn't get the IV in me. I mean, it was this whole ordeal. So they get the Cervidil in. That stays in for 12 hours. So my doula ends up coming. I don't get any sleep that night. I'm having contractions. We're having, whatever, but they still were not hard contractions. And so we stay there for 12 hours. And here's the funny thing. I am on monitors for 14 hours. Would you believe my blood pressure was perfect? Perfect. I'm pretty sure I just hate that doctor and I hate going to her office because it sends me, it sends me crazy. Seriously, my blood pressure was almost a little bit low to perfect. I mean, it was like contractions, everything, all through that. Blood pressure was perfect. Okay. Movement on baby is great. I mean, we're having great movement. We're having, everything she was using to like manipulate me into induction. I had proof on monitors that we weren't at risk. The only thing, of course, I could not prove was the practice breathing. Okay. So that's how our night went. Everything was perfect. I didn't get any sleep, but we're having contractions. That's how that night went. She comes in. Now, the Cervidil is not supposed to get out until 9 a.m. Okay, she comes in at 7:30, checks me, which, by the way, guys, I don't know what it is about women doctors sometimes, but like her bedside manner when it came to being examined has much to be desired. Okay, let's just put it that way. She was not very pleasant. So I even asked my nurse before she left at 7, because my nurse left at 7. I was like, can you check me before you leave? Because she just about killed me. I don't want her to check me again. But the nurse was like, well, no, because your Cervidil is not supposed to come out till 9. I leave at 7, So anyway, so she comes in at 7:30. We have a lovely examination again. And she says, basically I'm 70% of face, baby's -3 station. I am 4, but get this, I can stretch you to a 5. So first of all, my doula is irate because, and again, that's why I cannot stress enough, man, have a doula there, because there were things like as a mom and just like as common sense, I'm like, but like having that voice of reason, having that, and so when she left, the doula one was irate about that. She was like, there's a difference in like examining you and then stretching you to a 5 without your consent. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's different. So anyway, we have this lovely examination, which is terrible again. And she says, I was, all that, 4 stretched to 5, basically said, there's you will not have this baby unless you take Pitocin. And there was a little blip on the monitoring, and I'm probably not using the right word, but here's like the gist. She pointed to that and said, your baby is, I want to say it's declining. It was D something, but basically baby is not doing well based on this little and so again, another fear tactic. Okay. And I'm still very not happy. And I just say, the Cervidil doesn't come out till 9. I'm not making a decision. So you can leave. This is at 7:30. All right. So she leaves. Yes, that's what it is. Lacey, thank you. Of course, never mind the fact that I was on Bluetooth monitors, that I was literally right next to the thing, like next to the screens, and it wouldn't pick up half the time. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm not going to, okay, Lacey, then you understand it always. I'm like, I've been on monitors for 14 hours and half the time the Bluetooth didn't work. I'm not going to make a decision like Pitocin based on that. Like, I'm just not. So she leaves. My doula is like so mad at this point. like so irate. Oh, and by the way, the rooms were terrible. Not only I did not have my bathtub, they were not clean. Let's just say, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. They were not clean. Justin could barely wheel around because it was so cramped. Like, it was just a terrible room. So she leaves, and I'm just like, I just don't feel like, oh no, let me say some more. So she knew I was with the midwives, and she kind of like was real snotty and real whatever. And she's like, I told you, that the midwives, it was at Sacred Heart Pensacola, Tammy, which I thought was a great hospital, which my doula says that it is. Just don't have Samantha Johnson as your doctor. I'll just say that. So she basically said, I was just postponing the inevitable. And that's what a lot of the midwives do, when they try not to like use Pitocin, is basically what she was saying. And then she did. She basically said, if I did not take Pitocin, my baby wouldn't make it. So she leaves. And I'm just like, am I crazy? Because I've been on monitors for 14 hours. My blood pressure's been perfect. The baby's been perfect. And now she's wanting to come in and tell me if I don't take Pitocin that the baby's not going to make... Are you kidding me? So anyway, now my blood pressure's through the roof because I am so mad. Like, I am so mad because I knew she was just doing it to force me into an induction, to induce, to take Pitocin. And it just made me so angry. So I get up and I start packing our stuff. And when the nurse comes in at 9 a.m. to take out the Cervidil, I say, we're leaving. So give me whatever thing you need me to sign, because I'm not staying. And she's like, what? You're not staying? I'm like, no, I'm not staying. And is that doctor always like that? Well, yes. And here's the thing. Her clinic was not at that hospital. She was at a satellite clinic, like almost 30 minutes away from the hospital. And I get it. I have common sense. It makes sense for her to have scheduled inductions. Hey, I'm here at the hospital. I don't go back to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get that. It makes sense on a business standpoint, but that's not my problem. Okay? You don't manipulate me by fear tactics to force me into a thing that I don't want. Like, you cross the line. So we pack up, we leave the hospital, we walk out. I'm almost 5 centimeters and I am leaving the hospital. All right. We have left the building. So she calls me. Of course I don't answer. And And well, and that's the thing, like, my body wasn't ready for Pitocin. I mean, could I have taken Pitocin and it probably kicked in? I mean, I don't know, but that's not what I wanted. And just because you pump your body with Pitocin still doesn't mean that that's going to work. So then what happens? Then that turns into an emergency C-section. And that was my deal. If we were truly in a life and death situation, let's have a C-section. Like, let's forget Pitocin. Like, I would do that before I was just like, oh yeah, let's take Pitocin. Like, if we're really truly in a serious situation, just cut her out of me. I mean, that makes sense to me versus manipulating me into Pitocin. So anyway, so we leave. She calls me, of course I don't answer. She calls Justin, and Justin was not very nice. He's actually filed a complaint with the Florida board against her. Like it was not pretty, okay? All right, so this is Thursday. We leave on Friday. This is Friday. So I go home. I did go on the way home. I went and bought a blood pressure. We spent like almost $90 at CVS. Because again, I'm not trying to be just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, okay, I tested my blood pressure several times a day. I had a Doppler. I checked her heartbeat. I was, of course, still checking my blood sugar. Like, I'm not trying to be ignorant, but at the same time, don't force me. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. So that's where we were all weekend. Checking blood pressure, checking baby, whatever. Having contractions, but nothing hard. So I go to the chiropractor on Monday. Right. So, and just so you understand the timeline, I went to be induced on Thursday. She ended up being born on Wednesday. Okay. So we're 6 days later. So this is what happens during the next 6 days. All right. So Monday I go to the chiropractor, I get adjusted. And the crazy thing is I had a lot of, and again, I'll try to keep this whatever. But I had a lot of things happen that I never had with Chloe, but it was hard to tell, like, hey, is that my body getting ready for labor? Or is that just the cervidil still doing its thing? You know what I'm saying? It was hard to know. So that was kind of frustrating because some things happened Saturday that I was like, oh, I am totally going into labor. And I did. So that was frustrating because I'm like, I don't know. So all that time, things were happening, things that normally happen right before labor, and I never went into labor. So again, nothing's happening. My parents come in on Monday, which is Labor Day. They're here, and I'm still thinking, I thought I would have her by Saturday, like, the past Saturday. But I mean, I'm still not having hard contractions. So my parents are here. I go back Tuesday to the chiropractor again. I get adjusted. And we leave the chiropractor, and here's a little TMI, but I will share this with you. I'm in Burke's and Enterprise, and I get the worst case of diarrhea. I mean, I'm talking like, I wanted to apologize to the cashier. Like, so sorry. Your bathroom is, yeah. But, and here's a little more TMI. On Thursday, when she checked me, she said, ooh, mama, you are constipated. And I'm like, really? You don't say. So normally I'm like on the other end of things. So the fact that I just had like the worst case of diarrhea, that was my first clue, like, that's unusual for me. So, So that was like at 4:30 on, my days are Tuesday. All right. Go home, go to bed. I wake up because it feels like I'm peeing on myself. Now, granted, my water did not break with Chloe. So I had no like, oh, totally my water's broke. I don't know, because I didn't experience that with Chloe. They had to break my water right before I started pushing. So I didn't know. But I go to the bathroom and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure my water just broke. So that was like at 10 o'clock. So again, I did not experience my water breaking. Well, so here's the thing, Saliana. I didn't experience my water breaking, so I didn't know, like, okay, my water breaks, you know, and like you immediately go to the hospital. Like, I didn't know. So my doula's like, well, you should get some sleep. I'm like, oh yeah, we finally have some progress. I can't sleep. I'm over here doing laundry. So that's at 10 o'clock. Nothing happens until 4 a.m. 4. So this whole time, I mean, my house was really getting clean. Hey, Blakely. Because I'm like, you know, of course now, I mean, I knew this, like mentally, like when you really get into labor, like you're not going to be able to sleep through that. So I should have slept. Like I get it. I should have, but I didn't. Cause I was like, I gotta know. Cause my thought was, if things kind of start happening, I want to, like, if I need to kind of like kickstart it, like far as help. There's Kelsey, there's the doula. Yeah, I did not sleep. So if things were like kind of progressing, like I didn't want to be asleep when I could be walking, you know what I'm saying? So like I didn't sleep. So anyway, 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock, nothing happens. About 4:30, I start like, oh, okay, these are not like minor contractions. Like we're kind of getting somewhere. So I decide to take an Epsom salt bath. And for those who do not know, I take Epsom salt baths like it's my job. Like I should buy stock in Epsom salt. I mean, I literally buy Epsom salt by like 20 and 30 pounds. And that's no exaggeration. So I get in my own bath since I'm not at the hospital with the tub. I get in my own bath. And the contractions stall a little bit. Like when I was in the bath, like nothing, you know, I was like, oh great, oh, we got to get out because we are stalling. So, but I don't really, I enjoy my bath. I get out. When I get out, the contractions are 60 seconds apart for 30 seconds. I mean, like clockwork, 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 30 seconds. And I'm like, okay, wait. All right. So that's when I text Kelsey and I'm like, you may want to head this way. Like, I think it may be time. So now we're at, say, 5 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Jennifer. And this is another reason why it's taken me a bit, because I knew this would be a long video. And like, as you can tell, like when I do a live video, like I don't know how to like not do a live video. And it's just taken me a few days to be like this, you know, whatever. Okay. So we leave the house at 6. All right. So again, nothing happens till about 4. Really starts kicking gear about 4:30. We leave the house at 6. Kelsey gets there. We just go straight to the hospital. Oh, I never got to that part. So I have no doctor, right? You know, because I fired my other doctor Thursday or Friday morning, however you want to look at that. So the plan was, when I felt like I was in active labor, just to go to the local hospital ER. That was our plan. We had no other plan. So, that's what we did. So we went to Andalusia, and so we you know, again, we just roll up in there like, what's up, guys? We're here to have a baby. I know, Sally, you know, but here's where it gets real fun. So we get there at 6:30. Okay, so anyone want to think about the fact that all shift changes, well, I guess all, I don't know, I'm assuming all. Guess what happens at 7 a.m.? The shift change. So by the time we get there at 6:30, we get checked in, and of course I'm having contractions. I mean, now they're 60 to 90 seconds. I mean, and they are like I can't talk, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no like having conversation. And since we're at the ER, guess what? They're asking me tons of questions. Like, why do you need my birthday? Why do you need my social? I'm about to have this kid. So it was real fun, because I'm just like, I know they have to ask me these things, but is this really necessary? So we finally get to triage. But the thing is, we get to triage at 6:50. So this little nurse comes in and puts her gloves on, and of course, you know, I'm changed into my little nightgown, and so I'm like dying, okay? Like, we are like in intense labor at this point. So she's asking, of course, asking me questions. And so by the time she starts putting this together, and she was like, why did Sacred Heart let you leave if you were dilated to a 5? And in between contractions, I say, I left. They did not let me leave. I left. So she's, you know, she's putting this together like that. This is not like, oh, we'll get you checked in, I'll be off by 7. Oh no. So she takes her gloves off and she leaves. Like, does not check me, doesn't do anything. Like, she's like, I am out of here. I am getting off at 7. So from that point, I am like on all fours on the bed. Kelsey has like her little like scarf thing. We're doing like pressure points. Like, I am dying. All right. So we have no nurse. We have no nothing. Yeah, she was like, ain't got time for this. I am leaving at 7. She's like, that's right. She left the hospital at a 5. Like, I ain't signed up for this. So we are there in triage for like 45 minutes. The other nurse, you know, the 7 a.m. shift, she doesn't get there to 7:45. Okay. And basically all she does is just takes me to labor and delivery. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyone that, I mean, walking down the hall can tell I'm in labor. Okay. So like, we're at this point. So they finally take me, and the person that comes gets me, and this is where it gets like, okay, God, you have a very odd sense of humor. All right. She's a midwife. She lives right here, like close to our little town in Red Level. She is working with Andalusia Health to set up her own clinic as a midwife. She's been a midwife in Florida forever. And I'm like, of course, in between contractions, like, cool, I'm glad you're here. What a coinky dink, because we didn't know who would be here. Yeah, I know, Sally. And I was like, okay. So we get to the room about 7:45. Okay. Okay, let me back up a tad. When the nurse finally comes in to get me out of triage, oh, I know, Kelsey. And then she put together that you were my doula, and she was like, okay, all right. We speak the same language. Like, you're not going to give me a hard time. Like, all right. So when the nurse checks me, I'm at a 7. I was, I don't know, pretty far in effacement, 70, 80%, I don't know, pretty far. But baby was still -3, and her face was turned. Yeah. So that's why I said, you know, in that little picture where her face is turned, like that's an important detail, okay? So because of that, I had terrible back labor, like terrible, because her head was basically like in my spine. So get into the room at 7:45, and it is intense, okay? Like, it's intense at this point. So we try different things, and you know, again, we're just trying different movements, we're trying different whatever, but like, we are in intense labor. So the midwife, she's with me the whole time. She has like this little, like step stool basically. And she said, for the next couple contractions, why don't you try putting one foot on this stool, you know, kind of shift your pelvis, and let's see, can we get baby to move? Okay. Again, guys, came in at 7:45. All right. So we've already been in the room for, not quite an hour. So when I do that, baby moves. when baby moves, it makes me nauseous. And so I'm like, guys, I'm about to throw up. Okay, so they're all looking for the little puke bag thing, all right? So I can see, like, I'm about to vomit without the puke bag, so why don't I just go to this bathroom? That makes sense to me, right? So when I open the door to the bathroom, I just start vomiting, like, everywhere, okay? When I do that, unbeknownst to me, baby goes from -3 to bottom, all right? So I could tell like something major changed, and I'm like barely breathing because it all happened so fast, but like I knew something like majorly just happened. And I'm just like, you know, trying to like catch my breath because I'm like, I don't really know what just happened, but like something happened. And so Kelsey tells me, hey, while you're in the bathroom, why don't you try to go pee, because maybe your bladder's full and that's preventing baby from turning and adjusting. Okay, so I go to pee. When I sit down and I relax to pee, she's coming. Like, I scream, she's here. And like the midwife's like, can you get to the bed? And I'm like, no, like she's here. So I barely, no joke guys, I barely have enough time to like stand up. No, I didn't even push. Like, she literally just came out of me, okay? Like, the midwife barely got there to, like, catch her. So, when I threw up, that was me pushing, basically. And when I went to relax, to pee, there she was. So, we stay there in the bathroom, and we sit on the little bench. That's where we cut the cord in the bathroom. We do all of that. And then we go to, you know, the bed and all of that fun stuff. So yes, my child was, almost fell in the toilet. So yeah, that's the story. That's what happened. The midwife caught her. I did not catch her. The midwife caught her. Yes, Blakely. Yes, that's what happened. So yeah, so then we're at the hospital. It was fine. But I mean, we just wanted to leave. So we only stayed for like 27 hours. And we just told them we were leaving. So they, we did not stay. We're supposed to stay for 48 hours. And I guess that's one of the major things that I would tell any mama, or just in general, just when it comes to doctors. I know I'm such a rebel. But it's but still, like, don't be afraid to be a rebel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like God, especially as a mama, gives you instincts, gives you, I don't know, gives you that, you know, intuition. I know, poor Carly. You know, and don't be afraid just because you may not have a medical degree, you know, to stand up and advocate for yourself. And again, use common sense. That's why I went to the doctor or the hospital that night. I stayed on monitors for 14 hours. I wasn't trying to be reckless, but at the same time, like, I felt like that was kind of the compromise, you know? Yeah, I didn't put on my cape today, but I did put on my Superman glasses, you know what I'm saying? But don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, you know, and man, it may not, you know, come out or, you know, go the way you think it's going to go, but I am so thankful that I did not agree to Pitocin, that I stuck to what I wanted. And, you know, again, yes, I ended up having a midwife literally catch her. And just, you know, so many things that just happened that, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. So anyway, that is the gist. I would say the only thing I wish would have been different, and if I ever have another kid, that I would make sure went differently, was, let's just say, after I had her, the repair, that whole process, I will make sure, like, I would have taken morphine at that point, okay? Like, okay, I know I said no to an epidural, but what about morphine? Like, that was some of the worst part for me, because it gave me some medicine, just kind of stopped the bleeding, and it made me super cold, and I was shaking all over, and I felt everything, I'll just say that, and it was terrible. So that is one thing that if I could go back, or advocate for myself a little better, I would definitely make sure that didn't happen again. That also happened with Chloe. Now I'm doing much better. Oh, I forgot about that, Kelsey. So when she came out, she had her fist up to her face, and this is what got me, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, she came out posed and ready. But anyway, other than that, I am very happy. I'm recovering great. This time, Chloe, I had a much harder recovery. Like, I was still using a walker at this point, because I couldn't hardly, like, stand up, sit down. Like, I had a handicap toilet that we put in the bedroom because I couldn't, like, walk to the bathroom. And I also got lice from the hospital when I had her. So far, I don't think I have lice. So that's a win. But anyway, we are so excited to be home. Very thankful. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in my Thrive business that I haven't even, like, been able to talk about. But short version, I'll say this super quick, is there are some amazing bonuses happening right now. I have the live checks, the big oversized checks. I've earned a lot, like multi six figures in bonuses just like this. And so I am going to be working with people to help them earn these bonuses very quickly. And again, I do not have limited spaces. You know, like sometimes you see those posts where like only 3 spots available. You know, I don't have limited spots. I just have limited time. Okay. But if you have been watching us, if you've been curious about being a vitamin dealer, I've been doing this for over 6 years. You know, we have multi-million in sales. You know, it's a great business, especially for mamas. So if you have questions, I'll do another live just on what's going on and all of these bonuses. I've just been just a little busy. Okay. So anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Hope you've enjoyed this story. We'll talk to you guys later.